When my husband Michael left for a week-long business trip, I thought it would be just another ordinary stretch of time at home. We'd been married for 15 years, and though he often traveled for work, it never really got easier being apart. Still, our son Jake and I had our little routines that kept things moving. Michael was the practical one, steady as a rock. I was more emotional, the heart, while he was the anchor. Jake, our 14-year-old, had inherited both of our best traits, his father's calmness and my empathy. Lately, though, I had felt like we were growing a little distant. He was getting older, more private, more into his own world of friends, video games, and school projects. When Michael kissed me goodbye at the door, Jake hovered behind me, pretending to scroll on his phone. "Take care of Mom, champ," Michael said, tousling Jake's hair. Jake just gave a small grin and muttered, yeah, I got it." It was a quiet Monday after that. The house felt too still, the kind of silence that made you notice every creak of the floorboards and hum of the fridge. I made us breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, and orange juice, but Jake was unusually quiet. "Everything okay, sweetie?" I asked. "Yeah, just tired," he said. I brushed it off, assuming he was just missing his dad. The week started like any other: work, school, chores. But by Wednesday, little things began to change. When I came home from work that day, the living room was spotless. The throw pillows were neatly arranged, the coffee table wiped down, and the usual trail of sneakers that led from the door to the sofa was gone. "Jake," I called, half expecting to find a mess hidden somewhere. "In my room," he shouted back. I peeked inside the kitchen and found a small note on the counter, written in Jake's uneven handwriting. "Dinner in progress. Don't peek. Dinner." My son could barely make cereal without spilling milk. Sure enough, when the clock hit 6, Jake emerged with a sheepish grin and 2 plates of spaghetti, slightly overcooked noodles, sauce a bit watery, but the gesture nearly made me tear up. "I watched a YouTube video," he said, proudly. "I wanted to make something before you got home." That evening, we sat together at the table for the first time in weeks, talking about school, his favorite shows, and even about Michael. It was small, simple, but something inside me shifted. By Thursday morning, I woke up to find Jake already up, making toast and pouring orange juice. "You don't have to, honey," I said. "I know, I want to," he replied. That "want to" hit me. Somewhere between the daily chaos of parenting and work, I'd forgotten that kids often notice more than we realize. Later that day, I found another note in the laundry room. "Don't worry about laundry this week." I got it. I almost laughed. I figured he'd just thrown things in the washer without separating colors, but when I checked, he had done everything perfectly: detergent measured, whites separate from darks. It wasn't about the chores. It was the thought, the quiet sense of maturity growing in him. That evening, while I was folding clothes, Jake came into the room with his hands behind his back. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you ever get lonely when Dad's away?" The question caught me off guard. "Sometimes, yeah," I admitted. "But I have you, don't I?" He smiled softly. "Yeah, I see how hard you work. I guess I wanted to help out more." My heart swelled. For a moment, I saw not the little boy who used to run around the backyard with a superhero cape, but a young man who understood compassion. That night, rain started pouring heavily. The power went out for a while, and Jake came into the living room with a flashlight. "Guess we're camping indoors," he said, setting up a couple of blankets and snacks. We sat together under the glow of that flashlight, listening to the rain, telling stories. I told him about how his dad and I first met, about how terrified I was when he was born, about the nights I'd sit awake watching him sleep. He listened quietly, his usual teenage distractions replaced with genuine curiosity. "You know," he said, "I think Dad's pretty lucky." "Why's that?" I asked. "Because he's got you." I couldn't stop the tears that filled my eyes then. "And I'm lucky because I have you," I whispered. The power came back on eventually, but something about that night felt sacred, the kind of moment that stays with you forever. Friday morning, I found a small box on the kitchen counter. Inside was a handmade card. Jake had drawn a picture of the 3 of us, me, him, and his dad, holding hands under a bright yellow sun. At the bottom, it said, "For Mom, the strongest person I know." By the time Michael came home on Saturday evening, the house looked brighter. Not just physically, but emotionally. There was a warmth in the air, the kind that only comes from love and understanding. When Michael stepped through the door, Jake ran up to hug him. "I helped Mom this week," he said proudly. Michael looked at me, eyebrows raised. Oh yeah, I smiled. You have no idea. Jake gave us both a grin before heading upstairs, humming to himself. That night, as I tucked myself into bed, I realized something powerful. We often think we're teaching our kids about responsibility and kindness, but sometimes, they're the ones reminding us of it. It wasn't about Jake's chores or the spaghetti dinner. It was about how love, quiet, thoughtful love, shows up in the smallest actions. And in that 1 week while my husband was away, my son taught me more about family than any big moment ever could. Because love doesn't need grand gestures or perfect words. Sometimes, it's found in overcooked noodles, handwritten notes, and rainy nights spent laughing by flashlight. That week changed everything. It made me see that even when life feels ordinary, it's full of extraordinary moments, if we just take the time to notice. And I'll never forget the way my son surprised me, not with what he did, but with the heart he showed while doing it.